So, I just want to say that I'll be peppering in some of the kills from this movie in the review, and while none of them will be too major, please do know this if you're wanting to go into the movie completely blind. Haunt genuinely surprised me. I picked it up on clearance on the recommendation of a friend, and it took me a while to finally get around to watching it, and now I can safely say that I'm glad that I gave it the time. Taking place on Halloween in the outskirts of a small college town, a group of friends make the ultimate mistake when they go to an extreme haunt, which is much more than it seems at first. Naturally, as they proceed through the run-down attraction, they are picked off one by one at the hands of genuinely terrifying villains. Despite the cliche premise and most of the execution, the film actually did a lot of stuff that caught me off guard, and made me appreciate the film more than your garden variety slasher. For starters, the cast of characters actually grew as the film went on, despite their dwindling numbers. What started as a cast of attractive and shallow fodder slowly became a group I wanted to see survive, and I was actually disappointed as they got killed off. Now, they aren't perfect, they make a lot of dumb decisions early on, and naturally they act in a way that serves the plot, but they weren't the only ones who did this. In fact, while the villains were generally creepy, if not a bit overly nonsensical at times, I was glad to see that they were just as human and body and failure as our heroes. If you're looking for gore, it's both here and at the same time surprisingly dry. While there isn't buckets like I had expected, the kills were decently gruesome, just cut too short sometimes. Thankfully, each of the deaths were unique, and only one of them, while a bit of a bummer and expected, was underwhelming. The film actually succeeds more at building dread and a chilling atmosphere than it does on acting as a full-on slasher. A lot of the shots just oozed Halloween terror, and while some of the lingering shots sadly did result in jump scares, the film actually succeeds more at building dread and a chilling atmosphere. The entire cast did a fairly darn good job. The masked villains had excellent body language in their outfits and were intimidating out of them, and the entire movie had a surprising amount of character, regardless of how often this type of story is used. The soundtrack for the film was enjoyable and fitting, with plenty of spooky synth and lots of creeping tracks that made the walks in the dark all the more scary, and it really added to the tone without being overbearing. Also, I just have to say, the ending was not what I was expecting, and it was generally, dare I say it, one of my favorite slasher movie endings in recent memory. Not gonna say why or how, but gosh darn it, it was nice to see things play out differently than they usually do. With all that said, while Haunt isn't bound to be a Halloween classic like a lot of the big names out there, it is a really fun time, and that counts for a lot. Filled with generally likable characters, unique villains, some fun gory kills, a fun changed up setting, and lots of Halloween charm, I definitely recommend you give this a watch to start off your October right. As always, if you want to help support the channel, please consider sharing the video with a friend or checking out my Patreon linked in the description below. A big thank you to my wonderful friend Orion Knight for drawing up these wonderful animation stills of Punish Neat. If you have any comments, questions, or recommendations, leave them in the comments as I read and reply to everything. Until next time, this is Thierry Williamson signing off until the next video. See ya guys!